Welcome to the Careers in Music podcast. My name is Caleb J. Murphy. Today we have Judy Collins. She's an award-winning singer-songwriter whose career dates back to the 1960s. Her iconic version of Joni Mitchell's Both Sides Now was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. She also won Song of the Year at the 1975 Grammy Awards for her take on Stephen Sondheim's Send in the Clowns from the Broadway musical A Little Night Music. She's also had several top 10 hits and has released several gold and platinum selling albums. On top of all that, artists like Rufus Wainwright, Sean Colvin, Dolly Parton, Joan Baez, and Leonard Cohen have paid tribute to her legacy on the album Born to the Breed, a tribute to Judy Collins. We talked about how to simplify singing, falling in love with a song, and how to get started as a singer-songwriter. Let's get into it. So the basics of singing on how to sing are on the internet, so anyone can learn how to start.
Sure.
So I'm wondering, what's something we don't talk about enough when it comes to singing?
Okay. First of all, I was raised in a singing household. My father was a great singer, and he had a long career in the radio business, 30 years. And he always sang, and he always had studied. He'd studied as a young man when he was at school at the University of Idaho, where he had great teachers, and in the school where he went as a kid, the school for the blind and the deaf. And he had great singing teachers there. And so I learned really from him. But it was when I got into my career, in 1965, I started to have problems, and I called a couple of people and asked them about whether they knew teachers in New York. And I called both of these people who were in the industry, and they both recommended a man named Max Margulies. Max Margulies is my secret weapon. Max and I met eventually in 1965. And I went to his house and we started working. Max taught what is called the beautiful voice, bel canto. That is the voice direction that is taught by all the guys in the opera world who teach the tenors who are from Spain. Anyway, bel canto is the secret. And I was able to study with Max for 32 years, and he taught me what to do. So all I can say is that it's about clarity and phrasing. That's the simple version of bel canto. So it means that when you look at a song, you think about clarity and about phrasing and about what the lyric is and how to make it understandable. So that's where Pavarotti comes in. Mm-hmm. Max and I listened to 3-4 people. We listened to Pavarotti. We listened to Frank Sinatra. We listened to the great singers who made the lyrics audible and clear. And so that's the only thing I can tell you about singing, because that's the only thing I know about singing. I know when the voice is not clear. I know that one of the things we have to get used to is going from E all the way down and up to the high ranges, because we have to get over that little bump in the middle of the voice, which has to be sorted out so that you are able to sing at all levels.
Right. And by bump, you mean between your chest voice and your head voice?
Well, we don't talk about that. We just say there's a break in the middle of the voice. It has to be, you have to find a way to immerse yourself in the total octaves of the voice and not get hung up on any of the areas that you might find difficult. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of singing with clarity and phrasing. And that's about what it's about. It's not about singing through the navel. It's not about singing through the forehead. It's not about where do you breathe from, your toes, your ears. No, it's about knowing where you're going with the song. Mm-hmm. and getting there on all fours if you have to, but you have to be able to you want to be understood. So, Max used to say, if I can understand the lyric, it means you are singing well.
Right. Are you comfortable mentioning what kind of problems bel canto helped you overcome?
Well, I was starting in 1965. I was getting hoarse every time I went out to sing, and I was losing my voice. So when I started working with Max, I had, when I was a kid, I would sing with Dr. Brico's opera choruses, and I would sing with, the various operas, Eugene Onegin, and I would come home after singing in the chorus, and I would have lost my voice. And that was what was happening to me in 1965. And that's when I went to talk to people around the New York community of singers.
Right. That's interesting. I've not heard of. I don't know if you consider yourself a folk musician, but I've not heard of folk musicians working with opera singers to improve their voice. That's interesting.
Well, he wasn't an opera singer. Max Margulies taught opera singers, but he also taught me.
Yeah. Right.
So the essential qualities of bel canto are clarity and phrasing. And that's it. If you listen to Pavarotti long enough, you'll know that's what he's doing. And if you listen to Frank Sinatra, you'll know that he's phrasing in a way, and he's clear as a bell, and you always understand the lyrics. That's the key. The bottom line is, let's hear the lyric.
That's great. So for let's say a singer-songwriter, what do you think is the best way for them to sort of get their foot in the door if they're looking to make a career from music? How do you even get started?
Well, I'll tell you how I got started. First of all, I fell into folk music when I was about 16 off of Rachmaninoff. I was learning the Rachmaninoff Rock 2. I was a pianist, and I'd played with orchestras, and I was now instructed by my teacher, who had her own, of course, orchestra in Denver, that I should be ready to perform the Rock 2. Da 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 da, that one. And I was working on it, and I took a little break. I don't know, there was nobody in the house. I don't know where they went, but I turned on the radio. And I heard the gypsy rover came over the hill. And I thought, oh, my God, what is this? It was a song from an Alan Ladd movie called The Black Knight. And, of course, the gypsy rover is an old folk song. And I said, oh, my God. I went down to the music store in Denver, and I got the big record. It was a big record in red vinyl, and I brought it home and I put it on a chair and sat on it, broke it into about 15 pieces. And I had to ask my girlfriends who were going to dance. They had been dancing to Little Red Riding Hood, and now they would dance to the Gypsy Rover, which we started doing in Denver at all the clubs and all the hospitals and all the Air Force bases. And so that was how it started. So I got involved. I told my father, I said, I don't want to play Rachmaninoff. I want you to get me a guitar, which he rented, because he was an optimist. And I started learning songs. And I started going to the Denver Folklore Society and going up to the mountains and hearing Maid of Constant Sorrow and All the Water is Wide and all these wonderful, beautiful songs. And pretty soon, I was 16 then, 17, 18. By the time I got to be 19, my starter husband said to me, I think you should get a job doing something you know how to do. And I went to a club in Boulder, Colorado, and I got an audition. I mean, that's the first thing you have to get. You have to find somebody who's willing to put you in a room with a sound system and let you sing and play. That's really that's the easy part. That's the beginning.
Hey, just going to interrupt real quick to say that if you want to learn how to start your career in the music industry with guidance from experts who are doing what you want to do, make sure you check out careersinmusic.com. Okay, back to the conversation.
And, I was raised in a performer's family, so I knew what to do. I knew how to present myself. I had been doing school shows since I was about 7 or 8 years old. I'd been on my father's radio show. I'd been on the school shows. I'd been there with Little Red Riding Hood and the Gypsy Rover with my girlfriends, who are still my best girlfriends. Mm-hmm. And we're now 85. and so we put in the time learning how to do this, learning how to perform. So I suppose that's the bottom line. And then when you get a job somewhere and you have them pay you a few bucks and you start out, then you find out what it's like to have something that you can do, mm-hmm. singing, playing the guitar, playing the pedal steel, playing the fiddle, learning to use a harmonica. Whoever, if you go and watch this movie about Bob Dylan, which I haven't seen, but I was there, so I know what happened, mm-hmm. and I know who he was and what he did. Right. That's the same thing. He was trying to get a job. I knew him when I was 19, and his name was Robert Zimmerman, and he was homeless already and trying to get a job on the Hootenannies. And that's what you do. You stand around and you wait until somebody says, "Yo, come over here and sing a song for me."
Yeah.
Have you ever used a microphone? No. Well, here's how you do it. So this is a very simple approach. It's everybody's approach because everybody has to do this. It doesn't matter whether you play the violin or the piano or you've learned all the songs in the Bob Dylan catalog. You have to start somewhere. And basically, the trick is you have to start with something you know how to do.
So get good at your craft and then show people what you can do.
That's it. Yeah. And sing for your friends. I had a lot of years where I ran a lodge in Rocky Mountain National Park, for instance, when I was 18. And after lunch, I would go out on the porch and sing "This Land Is Your Land" and play the guitar. Mm-hmm. So there were a lot of times where I would sing in the smoker, I would sing in the school show. I did everything I could to perform. Right. That's how you learn to perform, is by performing.
Right. Exactly. I would like to ask you about artificial intelligence music. I don't know how familiar you are.
I have no clue. I wouldn't know what to tell you. I'll tell you that there's a huge amount of junk. There's a huge amount of undetermined, illiterate, unmusical, and irascible and disgraceful music that's going on everywhere you go. And frankly, I turn it off. I look the other way. I plug my ears. I duck my head. I don't want to be around it. I don't want to hear it because it's not what has any meaning for me. I don't know who thinks it has meaning, but I certainly don't. Trick is to stay as far away from this particular model of what's going on in music as humanly possible. Go to the opera, go to folk music concerts, turn on the internet, go find the great artists who have made this thing called the folk music idea. Mm-hmm. Go find out what they're talking about, what they're singing about. The secret is stories. Human beings need to have stories. That's how we make it through life. If I didn't have stories and books and people like Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie and Arlo Guthrie and Bob Dylan, and if I didn't have people in my life like that, I wouldn't know anything about the history of people as well as music.
Right. Do you think that part of the storytelling in songwriting, who it's coming from, matters, or who wrote it?
Well, it depends. I think Pete Seeger's sister, Peggy Seeger, wrote a lot of songs with Ewan McCall. And Ewan McCall and Peggy Seeger were a great team. And of course, Pete himself, he wrote "Where Have All the Flowers Gone?" He wrote "Turn, Turn, Turn." Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter, in a sense, who wrote it. And if it's a good song, And it lasts through many, many centuries at times. There are songs that have come down through the verbal and the musical tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And there are songs that we all kind of know by heart. I had grown up with the music of the Great American Songbook. Mm. So when I sing Danny Boy, everybody joins me. Everybody knows Danny Boy.
Right. How do you tell if a song has meaning? Do you just have to wait to see if it sticks around for decades, or?
No. My process is, if I hear it and fall in love with it, that's it. I'm done. I'm finished. If I don't fall in love with it, I never want to hear it again. I don't keep things in my life that are unmusical or incomprehensible or mysterious. I don't keep those in my life.
Yeah. So it's just kind of a feeling.
It's like falling in love. You have to be available to it. And if you don't feel that inner thing going on, that you know what it is, then you just pass it on and, go on to something else.
That's a great way to think about that. I love that. So I have one more question for you, Judy. If you could give aspiring singer-songwriters one piece of advice, what would it be?
Think again.
Meaning what?
Meaning, if you want to do this, think it through. Think again. First of all, it's incredibly difficult. You have situations that will appear in your life which are almost insurmountable. It's very hard to live and play and sing and be on the road for 65 years, I can tell you that. But if you love it, if you're passionate about it, if you know that it makes you tick, then do it by all means. But if you don't have that inner iron, the person I went to ask for information was Harry Belafonte in 1965. I said, who will I go to? And so he said, well, ask my pianist and my guitar player. And he happened to know where to go. And so did the people who ran the music up in Lenox, Massachusetts. So they knew what they were doing. They knew who they were recommending to me. So always be sure to ask an expert if you're looking for information, and don't settle for something mediocre. That's the thing. Right. Always go for the heights. Go for the gold.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's exactly why I wanted to talk to you. You're an expert at this. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. This was a very interesting conversation, and I appreciate you talking with me.
Well, have a beautiful day, Caleb, and thank you for a great interview.